Why fighting your challenges is destroying your progress. What if the reason you're stuck isn't because your challenges are too big? It's because you're focused on the wrong thing. Most of us are taught, fight our challenges, go after them, slay that dragon, work hard, try to eliminate every obstacle. And when you can't figure that out, work even harder, give even more, go at it even stronger. And after that, you're exhausted, right? You're exasperated, you lose motivation, and guess what? Your challenge is still there. So I want to share with you one of Sourena's thoughts on mindset and how shifting that mindset can actually move you through that hard stuff. And this is not a shortcut, it's not a hack, it's not a trick. It is a real shift, one that Sourena had to learn over and over throughout the years. These videos are a collaboration. Sourena, who has cerebral palsy, develops the written material, and I present it on camera. Sourena and Chris here.
When I was younger, I had to focus on everything that I couldn't do. It came mad to move forward. I have to understand that I cannot ignore my challenges. I feel if every single moment they so much lunch in the how.
I'll take it away. So in this video coming up, we're going to talk about challenges and how they're going to be there, they're going to exist, and you can't ignore them. You got to figure out a way to move forward. So tune in. When Sourena was around 20 years old, he was fixated on everything that had to do with his cerebral palsy. Right? He was fixated on what that took away from him, what it prevented him from doing, how it really hampered his entire life. He thought about every limitation. In every moment that his disability made things harder than it was for anybody else. He never wanted it to be that hard, it just was, and he was just obsessed and dwelling on this. And at the time he said, well, I'm being self-aware. He told myself that self-awareness was helping make progress, but it wasn't. He was cataloging his obstacles, not working through them. What Sourena eventually learned through this process was there's a difference between acknowledging your challenges and being consumed by them. You got to acknowledge them, they're real. They're there. They exist, right? But you can't dwell on them and let them consume you, right? Sourena can't just pretend he doesn't have a disability because it's there. But he also can't let that disability reclaim all of his focus and all of his energy, right? Most days, it shapes every decision Sourena makes, right? That disability affects every single thing he does all day long. And he had to learn the hard way that that's his reality, and he's got to work within that reality, not fight it. So in this video, we're going to break down how to navigate those challenges without losing your momentum. We're going to cover how to define your challenges clearly, how to focus through them, and how to allocate your energy so that you're building towards something, not just exhausting yourself, trying to eliminate every obstacle that comes your way and trying to get rid of all of these challenges. The real definition of a challenge. A challenge is something that threatens your goal. And there's two types. There's external and there's internal. Those are the two types of challenges that we all face in our lives, right? External are economic challenges, relationships, society, the world, everything that's outside of your control. Internal challenges are things that kind of get us from the inside, like fear, procrastination, unhelpful narratives, resistance to actually doing the work. Now, most people don't define their challenges clearly. Right? They fixate on the loudest ones, not the most important ones, and not the ones that they have control over, right? The ones that are handed to them by someone with an agenda, right? So I want you to pause right now and identify your top challenge. And once you've got that top challenge, think about it. Is it internal? Is it external? Or maybe a little bit of both? When talking about why fighting doesn't work, Sourena likes to use the leak in the house analogy, right? You can't ignore it, but you can't panic either. You've got to assess it, decide, and then take action, right? So those are the three keys instead of trying to fight things. You assess what's going on, you decide what you're going to do, and then you actually take that action. Because when you focus on what you can't control, you give yourself a convenient exit from doing the work you actually need to do to be successful. So ask yourself this: are you focused on an obstacle and giving that all your energy and attention, or are you focusing on what action you could take next? Clearly define your challenge. Clarity is key. It is the foundation. Without it, every challenge naturally will feel bigger than it actually is. So think about this when it comes to clearly defining your challenges. Think about a rocky relationship, right? That's a challenge. So what are you doing though? Are you pointing fingers at your partner or your spouse? Or are you thinking, what could I do differently to maybe improve this? Or maybe you have a stalled career and you're blaming it on lack of connection or lack of opportunity or bad timing instead of asking, what connections can I actually try and build? What can I actually do to revive this stalled career? But you got to look honestly at the mix, right? The internal versus the external. And again, the external you can't control. Those are just things that are out there. But the internal ones you can actually work on. And that combination is where the real clarity lives. So write it down. What is a challenge and what's your honest contribution to that? If you enjoy this content, make sure that you download Sourena's ebook, 5 Keys to an Amazing Mindset, by clicking on the link in the description. And also, please like, comment, and share. Focus on moving forward. Focus means channeling your resources onto what moves you towards your goal. So when you think about moving forward, let's look at a career for an example. You've got to build skills. You've got to deepen your relationships in the workplace. You've got to show up differently every single day instead of blaming the challenges, instead of blaming the company, blaming all those external factors. If you really want to move forward, focus on those things you can control, acknowledge the things you can't, but don't dwell on them or let them consume you, right? Knowing what needs to happen and actually doing it are two very different things, right? Knowledge is potential, but action is power. Most people are strong at first, but getting strong in that second half of the process is where the real transformation occurs. So identify one action that you need to take, and maybe you haven't taken it, even though you need to take it, and commit to taking it this week. So Sourena will tell you when it comes to allocating your attention strategically, there's a way to go about that. That's train and recover. He'll give you a gym analogy. You got to train. You got to go to the gym. You got to put in the work, right? But you can't do that all the time. You also got to recover. Because if you recover, you take the time to relax and let your body recover and heal properly, then you can go back and train some more and get a lot out of it. If you skip the recover piece, that's when you start to burn out, lose motivation, and end up injured. But think about that analogy then applying to work, right? You think you've got to pull an all-nighter and you've got to go 24/7. That's that mentality. But if you do that without the time to recover, you're eventually going to burn out, lose motivation, and give up. So yes, the work's got to happen, but the recovery's got to be there to balance it out. With Sourena, several times a week, his disability puts him in a tough spot. I would even say several times a day, right? Even though Sourena's done a great job dealing with it and achieved some amazing things, there are still moments where that disability just kicks in and he's frustrated, right? But he's learned to let those movements pass. Instead of hanging on to it, he lets it go and he learned to move forward. He doesn't carry it with him all the time. Because the opposite of negativity isn't apathy, it's positivity. So Sourena wants you to do this. Set a specific time to work on your challenge, right? Not just I'll work on this at some point. No. Set a specific time that you're going to work on your challenge. And when that time is up, step back intentionally and recover. So here are the things that Sourena wants you to walk out with today. 1, define your challenge clearly. You got a fuzzy challenge, you're going to get a fuzzy solution, and that's not going to get you anywhere. 2, focus on moving forward, not what's in the way. Acknowledge the challenge, acknowledge the obstacle, but don't put your focus, energy, attention, and emotion there. Put that into moving forward. And then 3, allocate your attention the way you'd allocate your money, right? You're going to do it with a clear intention, with a clear return in mind. So ultimately, Sourena wants you to know this. The goal isn't a challenge-free life. That's something that will never happen. It's an impossibility. And if that's what you're looking for, you're going to be awfully disappointed because it's just not reality. The goal is to understand that there are challenges and be someone who can move through those challenges and build something real on the other side of those challenges. So if this hit home for you today, think of what challenges you're working through right now. And if you got value from this video, please share it with somebody who needs that mindset shift that you just had. And guess what? Sourena loves that you do this stuff, but most importantly, now that you listen, take some action. And we'll see you in the next one. If you enjoy this content, make sure that you download Sourena's ebook, 5 Keys to an Amazing Mindset, by clicking on the link in the description. And also, please like, comment, and share.